the yoga. Before even getting into yoga, I was speaking about the physical anatomy and the psychological anatomy, the psychological part of it, and psychometry and the psychiatry point of view, the human's coexistence. In my previous video, I was talking about the classical yoga, Patanjali yoga, respectively talking about Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and then Tapas, Swadhyaya, Ishvara, Pramadhanam. Now, let's try getting into the advanced stage where today the modern medical sciences have been talking about, which is which more or less talks about the human psyche or the human psychology or the psychometry or the psychiatry part of it. Respectively, if we see, there are three domains of the human being. If we clearly look at Karma Yoga, has direct relation to tapas. Tapas here means penance. Penance means concentrating on something and trying to develop that kind of attitude, which in further leads to the psychomotor domain, which exists in the human consciousness at a subconscious level, which leads to the actions or the reactions or the situational acts that happen. Then that is when the brain responds, you have to do this, you should not do this, you should not do that. In further, if we go, you gain some kind of knowledge and you tend to understand, you make sure that knowledge is accumulated, and thus it makes sure that you know this knowledge is being used. You try to accommodate yourself by applying that thing in the specified situation, which is nothing but Gnana Yoga. Gnana Yoga is a phase where you tend to gain that knowledge and develop that knowledge, and you accumulate and you try to accommodate yourself. And that's where the Swadhyaya comes into picture. Swadhyaya means, Swa means individually. As an individual, I do that Adhyaya. Adhyaya means here getting to understand the deeper aspect in and out of the knowledge, and you try to develop that, and this further leads to the cognitive domain of the human brain functionalities at a subconscious level, which gives you to know something. You will come to know that, yeah, this is what is the thing and this is what is the subject all about. This is what I need to speak and this is what I need not speak. This is what I need to do, this is what I need not to do. So this is right thing and this is wrong. However, by default there is nothing wrong and right, but it is human consciousness that tells you, hey man, this is right or this is wrong. However, It is again individual's discretion as to how he or she tries to understand or tries to know the subject there, and then it gives you the thinking capacity at the intellectual level. It could be negative, it could be positive. It is how you take, it is how you develop yourself. And this is where the yoga plays a key role, which one needs to understand. And this is the beauty of art and culture, fine arts and culture. And this is where the classical dance has an edge over the naturopathy, and this is where the naturopathy plays a key role with the artificial medicines like English medicines or whatever it is. And this is where the natural thinking comes. And this is where the natural rehabilitation happens. This is where the natural re-engineering or realigning of the thoughts happen. And this is where the natural way of curing the ailments happen. However, exceptions are always there. As a part of note and disclaimer, if it is major like cancerous treatment or the tumor related or the stones related or any kind of major at an advanced stage, please do not go with the natural way of doing things. Please go with the medical treatment, which requires some sort of operational kind of thing. As a part of note and disclaimer. However, when it comes to like a bipolar disorder or lack of the lack of understanding or laziness, etc., etc., a small primary or primordial which can be cured with the natural kind of things, please do go with the natural. But advanced, please go with the medical treatment. So this is what happens at a cognitive level. That cognition of the mind goes off, and this is what is called Gnana Yoga. Gnana Yoga is nothing but understanding the subject and trying to do that. For a yoga practitioner, before getting into the Ashtanga Yoga, one needs to understand what is Gnana Yoga and Karma Yoga. That's when he can get to understand practicing of Ashtanga Yoga or practicing when he or she meditates. That meditation, why he or she is using, needs to be understood over here as such. And then comes Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti here means it's not going to temples, or it's not going performing rituals, or it's not performing yajnas or homas, or it is not like doing social service or whatever it is. Bhakti should come from the bottom. It has to be guileless. It has to have that guilelessness element. When I say guilelessness element, one needs to have the understanding that utmost commitment. You should not be expecting anything out of it. The point is, today bhakti means most of us think going to temple and doing namaskara and doing pujas or performing and giving away whatever that we have, etc., etc. That's not the true bhakti. Bhakti means over here understanding yourself first, And then when you understand yourself, what is it that you can give back? What is it that you have understood? One should not keep anything for himself or herself, be it anything. Unfortunately, today we are missing on that. That is where Ishvara Pravidhanam comes into picture. Ishvara Tattva. Ishvara Tattva is again has 34 tattvas. Though to understand 34 tattvas, one needs to have a broader and vivid understanding. That's when the yoga comes into completeness. It is not practicing of asanas, or it is not practicing of meditation. Mere practicing of asanas, meditation, pranayama does not help you. One needs to understand the bhakti tattva in the deeper aspect and in the in-depth aspect. This goes to the, this leads to the effective domain in the human brain or human consciousness at a subconscious level, which gives you that kind of feeling, wherein which is what is called ananda state. Ananda state, from Ananda state it has to go to the Paramananda state. Paramananda state is the saturation point where one gets to understand himself or herself. However, this is what is called self-realization point, and this is what is called to will to understand and will to get to that point is what happens. And this is what is the proper structure and the proper schematic way of performing yoga or understanding yoga or the understanding of the meditation. However, this all whole of this process, whatever that I have been speaking, happens in the classical dance form, be it Bharatnatyam, be it Kuchipudi, be it Mohiniyattam, be it anything. In the form of dance, one does that. However, if you are not a classical dance or a classical dancer or a professional dancer also, as a non-professional dancer also, you go out, go with this raw kind of thing, practicing all of this. As a dancer, the only one edge that one gets is he or she tends to get into that enactment, and thus he or she gets into that mindset and thus presents himself or herself and give that message to the society as a resultant. Thus I conclude this video with a positive note, and the pointers from this video for the individuals who are watching are to understand the domains of the human being or the human consciousness at a subconscious level, in contrast to the karma yoga, jnana yoga and bhakti yoga, and which in further gives the meaning of tapas, swadhyaya and ishvara pravidhanam. However, this will be dealt in my next videos in detail. I will be explaining the same. Thus I conclude this. Me get, or rather go much further. As I was speaking in my previous videos about the brain and the layers respectively, wherein I was speaking about the spiritual layer and and the primary layer. Now, let's try understanding the basic functionalities from the Panchakosha's point of view, or the five seats, or five koshas. Koshas here means the five layers. Basically, these are meant for when a human being exists or its existence comes to the earth. They come by default. However, one needs to have the understanding of what these five seats or the five koshas or the five layers. It would be really helpful for a dancer or aspiring dancer or the singer, someone who wants to pursue classical dance as a major career, and how he or she can take it to the level of therapeutic point of view. This would be really helpful, and this video really gives the brief glimpse of proper understanding of the layers or the systematic approach or the schematic approach. What really happens and what is the structure that a human being or the individual follows. And the few pointers from this video would be understanding about the five seats or the five layers or the five koshas or the పంచకోశాస్. ఈ యొక్క వీడియోలో మనం పంచకోశాల గురించి తెలుసుకుందాం. ఇప్పటిదాకా మెదడు ఎలాగుంటుంది, మెదడులో ఏముంటాయి, ఏంటి అవుతుంది, ఆ ప్రక్రియ ఏంటి, ఇవన్నీ తెలుసుకున్నాం మనం. దీంట్లో మనకి ప్రప్రథమంగా చెప్పాలి అంటే మనం తినే తిండి, మళ్ళీ ఇంకా చెప్పాలి అంటే శ్వాస, ఆ శక్తి, మళ్ళీ మస్తిష్కంలోని ఆలోచించే విధానం, దాన్నే మనం ఇంటలెక్ట్ కూడా అంటాం. అది ఎలాగ డెవలప్ చేసుకుంటాం పాజిటివ్గా. ఇంకోటి ఆ పరమానందం ఎలాగ, ఏంటి పరమానందం పాయింట్. ఇఫ్ వి రియల్లీ సీ the kind of food intake, breath, the kind of energy that we are getting out of, or whatever by default, or the mind, developing of mind, understanding of it, then it more or less talks about the intellectual levels of the mind or the thought, the intellectual thought, how we can develop. And then it more or less talks about the bliss, which is the supreme state, the highest level of state which anyone can attain. And this is what is called Paramananda or Ananda state. Now let's try to understand. Basically, we have అన్నమయ కోశ, ప్రాణమయ కోశ, మనోమయ కోశ, విజ్ఞానమయ కోశ అండ్ ఆనందమయ కోశ. అన్నమయ కోశ is sustained by food. Anna means food. అన్నమయ కోశ గురించి మాట్లాడితే మనం తినే తిండి పదార్థాలు దీని నుంచి వస్తుంది. అది మొదటిది. రెండోది ప్రాణమయ కోశ. ప్రాణం అంటేనే మనకి ఆ శ్వాస ఉంటేనే ప్రాణం ఉంటుంది కదా, అలాగే ఆ శక్తి ఉంటే, ఆ శక్తి శ్వాస ఉంటేనే ప్రాణం ఉంటుంది. అందుకు అది ప్రాణమయ కోశ, అది రెండోది. అలాగే మనోమయ కోశ, అది బుద్ధి. అది బుద్ధిని కంట్రోల్ చేస్తుంది. మనం అర్థం చేసుకోవాల్సింది ఏంటంటే ఇక్కడ ఆ బుద్ధిని మనం ఎలా వాడుతున్నాము అనేది. అలాగే విజ్ఞానమయ కోశ. విజ్ఞానమయ కోశ అనగానే మనకి ఆ వచ్చిన జ్ఞానం ఎలాగ వాడుతున్నాం, ఏంటి చేస్తున్నాం. అలాగే ఆనందమయ కోశ. ఇప్పుడు మనం అన్నమయ కోశ, ప్రాణమయ కోశ, మనోమయ కోశ, విజ్ఞానమయ కోశ నుంచి వచ్చాం మనం. ఈ 4 కలిపితే అది ఆనందమయ కోశ. ఇప్పుడు ఒక మస్తిష్కం కానీ, ఒక బుర్ర కానీ ఫంక్షనాలిటీస్ గురించి నేను కిందటి వీడియోలో మాట్లాడాను. ఇప్పుడు మాట్లాడుతున్నది అసలు ఈ పంచకోశాల్లో ఏమున్నాయి ఏంటి అనేది మాట్లాడాను. As I spoke in my previous video about the mind and its functionalities, or brain or its functionalities, right? Now, if we see Annamaya Kosha, it is sustained by food intake actually. When I say food intake, what kind of food are we taking? Is it something which is helping your body to go have that strength, or are we taking right kind of food? One needs to really be careful when we try to take food. It's not that you take any kind of food. That's when our mind will get thoughts. Both right and left brain will get thoughts. If you are taking a very good food, hygienic food, and taking a positive food which is not creating any sort of harm to the body, mind will be pure and at its parity level. At Pranamaya Kosha, it is sustained by breath and energies. What is a kind of breath that we are taking, or what is a kind of energy that we are imbibing or taking that? One needs to be conscious about this. Strictly, one needs to have that positive energy, and that, when we are breathing air, that has to be like in a positive environment. One needs to really understand to the core as to why this concept has been introduced, or why this layer. This is where once we have this positive energy and that positive air coming into your body, that's when your mind stays calm with pure and parity. ఎప్పుడైతే మనం ఆ శ్వాస కానీ ఆ శక్తి కానీ ఒక పాజిటివ్ లెవెల్లోని ఒక పాజిటివ్ అట్మాస్ఫియర్లో కానీ ఉంటే అది ఒక దేహాన్ని ఒక పాజిటివ్ లెవెల్ తీసుకొస్తుంది. మనోమయ కోశ, ఇట్ ఈస్ సస్టైన్డ్ బై మైండ్. వన్స్ వీ టేక్ right kind of food, when I say right kind of food, that does not harm your body or that does not give any kind of negative energies. Normally what happens is we tend to take any kind of food. Food is all about like taking satvika food. Satvika food over here means something by which satvika food is something wherein it's like not harming anyone as such. When I say not harming anyone, see, most of us today are taking non-vegetarian. That doesn't mean I'm trying to pinpoint non-vegetarian eating people. It is their choice. But eating too much non-veg is also not good, because when we eat non-vegetarian, we are killing the animals. And when we eat that flesh, our tongue tends to have that negative energy, develops that within our body. That's the reason why most of the sages or say to have vegetarian food. That gives some kind of positive energy, and that gives some kind of positive mindset or positive mind towards doing something constructive, not the destructive part. Then we need to talk about Vijnanamaya Kosha. This is sustained by intellect. This intellect is at a highest level. One needs to get to understand or needs to reach to that highest level. Think about that. It's not that you just think about the intellect. That is not the way it goes about. That's when you develop yourself. This is where the Vijnanamaya Kosha or Vijnanamaya layer happens. Once we take control over this, that's the supreme bliss. This is what is called Anandamaya Kosha, Anandamaya layer. దీన్నే మనం ఆనందమయం అంటాం. మనం ఆనందమయ కోశం అంటాం. ఎప్పుడైతే మనం ఆ అన్నమయ కోశ, ప్రాణమయ కోశ, మనోమయ కోశ, విజ్ఞానమయ కోశని చేసాము, కంట్రోల్ చేయగలుచుకున్నాం మనం, అప్పుడు ఆ ఆనందానికి వెళ్తాం. దాన్నే మనం పరమానందం అంటాం. అది అసలైన ఆనందం, ఒకరికి ఉపయోగపడేటట్లు. Once we take control over Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, that's when you reach to that level. This is what is called the self-realization point. This is the realization point wherein the human mind or brain, which has both right and left, act in a systematic way and schematic way, and has certain positive vibration takes. Thus, this video would be useful information for individual who is pursuing fine arts and culture from the scientific point of view towards the betterment of the individual as a whole and helping others. And the primary reason for Natya Shastra to be worked as doctrine is also the same reason. Now, let's try understanding the typical nature of the dance functionalities from the Nritta, Natya, and the musical aspect, which form the basic important vital points or the vital factors which constitute engulfing whole of the dance as a single entity. When we talk about the study of technical aspect, which is nothing but Nritta in terms of Natya Shastra, which is nothing but study of the dance movements. Dance movements over here means leg movements, eye movements, hands movements, elbows, knees, everything, whatnot, plus study of the human body as a whole, which happens as a part of response to stimuli, wherein it responds to the musical notes that are being recited or done by Natvanga. Now, there is other aspect, that is study of expressional aspect. This is nothing but Natya. Natya is nothing but enacting the character or empathizing the character or getting into the character and presenting that aspect as a whole and showing the basic moral or the basic story which will be seen by the audience who get that positive energy. This is nothing but study of emotions of the personalities, as I said. Here personality could be mythology or individual himself or enacting any of the character like Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesha or some XYZ, plus study of effective performance of the stories or the theme. Stories and the themes have that practical importance over here. That is the reason why story or theme has to have that strong or strength in it to give that basic material or the moral, the brief moral, which gets into the minds of the audience, which an audience could visualize it. At the same time, dancer also visualizes it, and he or she first feels the same and then expresses that outside as a part of result, and thus the audience get that brief gist of it. Now, when we talk about study of the music aspect, the music aspect again has its own importance. Here, the music aspect has to be soothing. It could be soothing, it could be high note, it could be lower note, it could be anything like that. However, it again is study of vocal, lyrical, musical, and instrumental music. This is what is called Geetam and Vadyam. And this is where the practical importance happens. Now, again, this plus human sub theories. This is what is called Tala Shastra and Swara Shastras. And here's the Swara Shastras or Tala Shastras have certain amount of magnitude, certain amount of measurements, due to which will actually like help an audience, or which will help an individual to get into the subject. Now, the actual gestures or the movements that are danced comes from the resultant force by enacting or getting into the subject. The dancer's body which executes those movements gives the end result. This is where the action and reaction takes place. Typically, when we do all of this, our body is the our body has around 100 trillion living cells or atoms. It has its own lives, and it responds to stimulus actually, because the moment we are doing certain actions, our cells respond to it, and the kind of reaction starts happening within our body at a wattage of 1.4 watts into 70 trillion cells. Now, and on contrary, this controls the happenings with the mind, heart, and veins, and this listens to all kinds of visual aids. Visual aids here means the dance teacher singing the song, musical notes coming out of the natvanga, or the instruments that are being played. So that is one reason why dance and music is considered to be basically a therapy practice. And that is one reason why today medical science is concentrating on this. The kind of reactions that happen, the kind of reactions or actions happen due to the intervention of the music and the dance movements or the leg movements. Thus, today in this video, the take takeaway or the pointers talking about Upanishad in cross reference to Upanishad and other things, right? In this video, let me take the subject to the next level, which talks about two different srishtis respectively, with reference to the Mama and Rupa. Mama here means you as an individual, whether he or she who comes as a human being into this existence. That is nothing but Jiva Srishti. You tend to understand yourself and try to imbibe whatever that is there in nature. First thing. Coming to Rupa. Rupa here means Akara, Nirakara. Akara means you have a standard form. and there is standard set where he or she tries to have, think, or meditate on that form at first place. And let's have a clear cut understanding on why this rupa, or what exactly is this rupa or mama, why one really has to talk about it when it comes to the yoga front. Is that necessary? When you are doing any sort of yoga, is that necessary? Is the question one needs to ask for himself or herself. The point is here, when an individual comes and tries to establish himself or herself as a single entity, as a unique personality, it could be he or she or any any jiva, living being. He or she will have certain kind of imbibed qualities. Comes down to this earth from the mother's womb, staying in the mother's womb for 9 months. Now, apart from this, one needs to understand rupa. Why he or she, why we are talking about rupa over here means one needs to understand the Ishvara Tattva. When I say Ishvara Tattva, it has 36 gunas respectively. 36 tattvas, in fact. Sorry. In fact, it has 36 tattvas. It could be he or she. And we need to work within those boundaries. Unfortunately, today we are forgetting about those 36 tattvas as a whole, and we are practicing yoga, and we have yoga practitioners, we have meditation practitioners. But the foundation for this is understanding the Ishvara Srishti and Jiva Srishti, which are indirectly related to Mama and Rupa. Rupa from the Akara Swarupa and Nirakara Swarupa. When I talk about Akara Swarupa, it has certain forms. Certain form. You tend to believe that you have certain form and you create that image and you start meditating on that. Nirakara Swarupa is again, you concentrate on one point, meaning here you engulf Maya and Mahamaya. And this is where the key factor of the yoga happens. This is what is the key pointers for the yoga practitioners to understand in depth. And this is where Patanjali wanted to actually talk about. Unfortunately, today we are missing on this. And this is the concept of classical dance as a single entity. People may say it is for the entertainment purpose, but a classical dance has Maya and Mahamaya imbibed in that, which one needs to understand. The point is, one needs to have this. understanding of Ishvara Srishti and Jiva Srishti. Ishvara Srishti again talks about Srishti Laya and Jati Gati. That is dealt with the mythology stories. Again, if you really look at. And Jiva Srishti is again, in this Jiva Srishti, you take into consideration the Akara Swarupa and Nirakara Swarupa as a whole. One needs to understand that Jiva Srishti is nothing but once a human being, whether he or she, it could be animal, it could be human being, it could be anyone, whichever is living, comes down. It has its own will. However, karma also plays a key role. That's a different aspect. I do not want to get into that. But let's stipulate ourselves with Ishvara Srishti. Ishvara Srishti is all about 36 tattvas which one needs to know. If one understands this 31 is beyond, one is in between the boundaries of 36 tattvas, there will not be any kind of reactions. But once this Jiva Srishti tries to take that definition of freedom to the next level, that's when the repercussions happen. One needs to understand Ishvara Srishti and Jiva Srishti in depth and the deeper aspect of it. Though unfortunately, we have dancers, we have gurus, we have teachers, but none of us are really interested to understand what really is this Ishvara Srishti and Jiva Srishti all about, and why we need to understand 36 tattvas before getting into Jiva Srishti. Jiva Srishti is again related to Maya and Mahamaya. What is this Maya? What is this Mahamaya? However, this has twofold nature, a double personality, a character that distinguishes oneself by means of the relationship to Ishvara and your relationship to this earthly life. Why should he be using this line? This has twofold nature, a double personality. A double personality. He is not talking about single personality. A character. Why should one be talking about character or personality over here? One needs to understand this is where the 36 tattvas play a key role, and this is where one should develop his or her character. Our human brain comes empty when he or she comes down to this earth, and that's when he develops that character, and that itself distinguishes oneself, meaning the uniqueness lies within yourself. This is what is the meaning, ladies and gentlemen. Understand this to the deeper and wider aspect. It has a deeper meaning and in-depth meaning. And it says distinguishes oneself by means of the relationship to Ishvara Tattva or the Ishvara's 36 Tattvas and your relationship to the earthly life. Why is he talking about earthly life over here? The earthly life is nothing but Srishti Laya Jati and Gati. That is birth, living, and death cycle. What you do in between is your choice. Understand this, ladies and gentlemen. This is the beauty of Vedas and Upanishads. If we are not able to understand this Ishvara Srishti and Jiva Srishti, for a yoga practitioner, I think so it's incomplete study of yoga. It's not about asanas, it's not about practicing pranayama, it's not about sabasana or anything like that. It's all about understanding the relationship of Ishvara and your relationship to the earthly life. Thus, the pointers from this video to the individuals, aspiring dancers, scholars, medical practice, and your relationship to the earthly life.